No surrender, no defeat. Maybe it's time for an Evercade retreat.
Hello and welcome to the Evercade Retreat. Gene Jake here, and today I'm doing a ranking review of the Gaelco Arcade Collection Volume 2 for the Evercade. Much like the first Gaelco Arcade Collection, it's a selection of largely unknown arcade games. Now, I'm sure the Spanish would be more aware of these games, and parts of Europe, safe to say, they don't have the recognition of things like your Capcom and Konami games, or even your Sega or even Neo Geo. But this isn't a history lesson, this is really just about the games and my opinions of them. The first Gaelco Collection was full of pleasant surprises, so is this one? Let's find out.
Number 7.
Yep, that's right, 7. Although the card only says it has 6 games on it, but I'll get to that. But my least favourite game on the collection is Maniac Square. It's a block dropping puzzle game. Coloured blocks drop from the top of the screen in twos, and you have to match the colours in lines of 3 or more, and you clear those lines if you like. And that's about all there is to it. You're doing it against a time limit, you have to clear a certain amount of lines within a time limit. I usually like these kinds of games, and as far as these kinds of games go, it's functional. That's about all I can say. There's no complex scoring mechanism or bonus or combo mechanism. It is just go against the time limit, that's about it. There is a 2-player mode, but I've not even bothered to try it. It's okay, but it's just kind of tedious really. It doesn't have anything extra to keep it exciting. You can pass a bit of time with it, but that's about it. Graphically, it's pleasant enough. The music it's there, it's passable, but again, it doesn't really excite. It doesn't give you any real excitement or incentive to go faster or any particularly special atmosphere. It's just, yeah, it's there. It's about all I can say for this game.
Number 6.
Is Touch and Go Volleyball. This is a beach volleyball game with digitised sprites, a Mortal Kombat, that sort of thing, and it looks nice. It definitely looks the part, and it's very simple to play with a one button control system. It's quite easy to pick up and play, using the single button and directions to do different moves and things. Quite a fun arcade sports game. Being an arcade game, it is sort of limited in game modes like a console one would be. It captures the right feel you'd expect from a beach volleyball game. Difficulty ramps up as your matches progress, as you would expect. There's nothing groundbreaking or revolutionary here, but yeah, it's a decent enough little game. Not one I'm very compelled to play over and over, but when I do play it, I have some fun with it.
Number 5.
Is squash, based on the sport, not some sort of vegetable, obviously. It's basically a tennis game, but with slightly different rules because it's based on squash, not tennis, obviously. Naturally, it does play a lot like a tennis game, and I'd say it plays better than any of the actual tennis games on the Evercade. Naturally, things are tweaked slightly to make a good arcade game out of it, and like Touch and Go being an arcade sports game, it's limited in game modes, but looks the part, sounds fine, and most importantly, it plays well. If you're into sports games, you might well rank this one higher. I think it is a good arcade sports game, but they're not really my jam, so here it is.
Number 4.
This is Maniac Square Prototype. If you have Maniac Square up on screen ready to load the game, press L1, L2, R1, R2 all together. It'll unlock the Maniac Square Prototype, developed a few years earlier and has some differences. It's actually a little bit bizarre that they went from this to the finished game. Being a little bit less polished because it is a prototype visually, the actual gameplay itself is more complex. The basics are roughly the same, although there's not a time limit, but there's more to the gameplay and the scoring. Quite simply, it makes it a more entertaining block dropping puzzle game.
Number 3.
And this would be Big Karnak, a side-scrolling hack-and-slash platformer. You wander through Egyptian times, hacking and slashing. But it's not your typical hack-and-slash, or it is in some ways, but overall it's quite an unconventional in terms of game design for an arcade game. There's puzzle elements in the pyramid. It doesn't really stick to the usual game design rules of the era. In many ways, I'd say it almost seems more like a home computer game than an arcade. On the negative front, the controls are a bit stiff and clunky, and if like me, your first impression might be a little bit negative, that it's just, it's an okay hack and slash, whatever. As the game progresses, it really does start showing that it's quite bonkers in some ways. I don't want to give anything away. Some cool looking bosses, and the graphics overall are pretty good. The animation isn't always the best, but again, the overall presentation is pretty good. Music's pretty decent as well. I mean, it does have some flaws. I think gameplay wise, it's not the best, and it's not a game that you'll come back to for a quick bash here and there to enjoy the hack and slash action. It's one that you'll play and enjoy the experience, probably play through it once. You won't come back to it some months later or whatever when you've kind of forgotten certain bits. But yeah, it doesn't have that kind of one more go aspect. It's more that you play it to complete it and you're done. But again, I really enjoyed the experience, which is why I made it here on the list.
Number 2.
And this would be World Rally 2, the sequel to World Rally that was on Gaelco Arcade 1. Funny enough, I mean, how could you not make that connection, really? And this is very much a case of a sequel that is more of the same. Some improvements, but if it's not broke, don't fix it. There's 3 cars to choose from now, and it is new courses. Other than that, it is pretty much exactly the same as the first. I just feel like there's been some tweaking underneath the hood, but largely it will feel like very much the same thing. And that's not a bad thing because it is a good isometric rally game. And just like the first game, you're racing through the courses, getting your checkpoints, and it's trying to beat the race within 60 seconds. Very simple and straightforward. Very satisfying when you're trying to shave those few little seconds or even milliseconds off your times.
Number 1.
And that would be Thunder Hoop 2, or TH Strikes Back. Set some 10 years after the first game, Thunder Hoop has grown up and is now a roided up action hero, and the gameplay reflects that. Instead of having some pudgy, squibby looking douche nozzle, you now have, a Rambo lookalike. He launches fireballs from his hands, of course. Gameplay is largely different. The first game was pretty much a platformer where you would shoot at things. This is much more of a run and gun, although there is a few elements which kind of harken back to the platform roots. Not many run and gun games where you can jump on top of enemies' heads and things. The usual and very European aesthetic design of the first game is, well, it's grown, I suppose. It's matured into a more comic book look style, and the enemies are, well, they could either be hideously ugly or quite sexy females. There's a lot of women you're blowing apart. Make of that what you will. Visual standard is very high. It is a very good looking game. Music is suitably action movie style to reflect the high octane gameplay. It's also a much more forgiving game to play than the first Thunder Hoop, and is vastly superior in my opinion. Again, but they are very different games. On the negative side, there isn't much in the way of power-ups. Your weapon does power up, but it doesn't really change. There's not much variety in your weapons. Gun gameplay is interspersed with some minecart style sections, which are fun but a bit irritating at times, but again you've got save states if they're really problematic for you. Overall, it's a good fun run and gun game, and is easily my most played game on the collection because it is one I can just pick up and have a good blast with. And this would probably be a good point to mention that if you insert Gaelco Arcade 1 and Gaelco Arcade 2, you'll get, on the VS that is, you'll get the Kart Combo Unlock game, which is Bang, which is a light gun game, or a crosshair game if you like. It's a bit like Point Blank on the PlayStation if you ever played that. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, depends on your mileage for playing games like this using a D-pad. So looking at the cart as a whole, it is a good collection. You've got 6 games there plus your bonuses if you like. On top of that, we have some genuinely good games here. Now, a lot will depend on your tastes, obviously. If you don't like sports games at all, or aren't fussed on them like I am, then some of those games might seem less impressive. It's a solid collection with a decent amount of variety, and although I don't know for sure, but it does seem like a collection that people don't talk about all that often, so I don't know if it's overlooked at all, but definitely worth checking out. To score it, I would give it a 7.5 out of 10. Well, that's it for the review. I hope you've enjoyed it, or found it interesting or informative or something. If not, why are you still watching? As usual, I'll leave you with a silly song based on one of the games, and I'll see you in the next video.
Running through the fire, leaping through the flames. Courage in his heart, he's brave. sight, the stakes are high. Dodging lasers in a chaotic sky. With every jump, every move, every swing, Thunderhoop does his thing. Running through the fire, leaping through the flames. Courage in his heart, he's breaking the chains. Thunderhoop strikes